Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something fundamental, energy.
Absolutely. It powers pretty much everything.
Think of it as the basic ability to, make things happen. The engine of the universe, sort of.
That's a good way to put it.
We've got some great materials here that really unpack the core ideas, the different kinds of energy, how it changes form. Our goal today is to break this down for you. Make it clear, maybe even fascinating, without getting bogged down in too much jargon.
Sounds good. We'll look at the types, how we use them, and, well, why it all matters.
Exactly. So energy at its heart, it's the capacity to do work.
That's the standard definition, yeah.
Yeah.
And we measure it in joules, or sometimes kilojoules for bigger amounts.
1,000 joules.
Right. And even our own bodies are constantly using energy.
Constantly. Every move you make, every breath, even thinking, that takes energy.
Which we get from food, converting that chemical energy.
Precisely. It's this constant flow, this use and transformation that underpins everything. Okay, so let's dive into the different types. Our sources lay out quite a range.
Oh, definitely. It's not just one thing. We're talking mechanical, heat, light.
Chemical, sound, magnetic, electrical, even atomic energy. It's a huge spectrum.
A really remarkable spectrum. And what's interesting is how they're often linked.
Let's start with mechanical. That's about movement and position.
Pretty much. Energy an object has, because it's moving, or because of where it is, or its state, it splits into two main types.
Kinetic and potential.
Exactly. Kinetic is the energy of motion.
Right. So like wind blowing, water flowing, a ball flying through the air.
A fired bullet, yeah. Anything that's moving has kinetic energy, and it depends on how heavy it is and how fast it's going.
There's a formula for that, isn't there?
Ke equals 1/2 mv squared, half times mass times velocity squared.
Okay, so mass m, velocity v, and that v squared part is important.
Very important. It means speed has a huge impact if you double the speed.
The kinetic energy goes up by 4 times.
Exactly. Our source gives that very example. Double the velocity, quadruple the energy. Think about car crashes at higher speeds, or how much more power faster wind has.
Wow. Okay. That really shows how speed dominates kinetic energy. Now, what about potential energy? That's more about stored energy.
That's a good way to think about it. Stored capacity. It's energy something has because of its position or maybe its shape has changed.
Like stretching a rubber band?
Perfect example. Or pulling back a bowstring.
Yeah.
Water held up high in a dam. That's gravitational potential energy.
And there's a formula for that, too, for the gravitational kind.
Yep. PE equals m times g times h. Mass times the acceleration due to gravity times the height.
So lift something heavier or lift it higher, and it gains more potential energy.
Directly proportional, yes. And g, the gravity part, that's usually pretty constant near the Earth's surface.
Our sources have some examples here. Lifting a 15-kilogram weight 10 meters up.
That gives it 1,500 joules of potential energy. 15 times 10 times roughly 10 for gravity. Yeah.
And another one flips it. If you have 500 joules, how high can you lift a 30-kilogram object?
Works out to about 1.67 meters. It shows that link between the work you do lifting it and the energy it stores.
And you mentioned the height, h, is relative.
Right. You have to pick a zero level. Is it the floor? The ground outside? It's a reference point we choose.
But the relationships hold true. More mass, more height, more potential energy.
Always.
Okay, so beyond mechanical, what else? Heat energy comes up.
Yeah, like for burning fuel.
Yeah.
Or think about steam lifting the lid on a pot. The sources mention James Watt's steam engine back in 1765.
A huge moment, harnessing heat for work.
Absolutely transformed things. Then there's light energy, makes things visible, obviously,
Yeah.
but also things like the photoelectric effect.
Which is key for solar cells, right?
Exactly. Converting light directly to electricity. And chemical energy that's stored in the bonds of molecules.
Like in petrol for a car or the food we eat.
Right. Released through chemical reactions. Then you've got sound energy from vibrations.
Yeah.
And magnetic energy. Magnets attracting nails or how electric motors work.
And electrical energy, the flow of charge. Powers almost everything these days.
And finally, atomic energy, stored inside the atom's nucleus.
Yeah, the source mentions this neutrally used in reactors for power, but also historically in bombs. Huge potential, both good and bad. It really highlights the power locked away there. So all these different forms, they can change into each other.
That's one of the most fundamental principles. Energy transformation. It's not created or destroyed. In a closed system anyway, just converted.
Our sources list loads of examples.
They do. Like a pendulum swinging.
Potential energy at the top, kinetic at the bottom, back and forth.
Exactly. Or an electric bulb. electrical energy comes in.
And you get light and usually quite a bit of heat, too.
Yeah, often heat is a byproduct. An electromagnet turns electrical into magnetic.
And a fan does the opposite, electrical into kinetic, the spinning blades.
Right, a generator is the reverse of a motor, takes kinetic energy, like from spinning turbine, and makes electrical energy.
Crucial for power plants.
Absolutely. A doorbell, electrical to sound.
Microphone, sound to electrical.
You got it. Think about a hydropower station. That's a whole chain.
Water high up has potential energy.
Flows down, becomes kinetic energy.
Spins a turbine, kinetic again.
Which drives a generator, converting kinetic to electrical. Boom. Electricity.
It's quite a journey. Even a simple battery.
That's chemical energy converting to electrical energy.
And that old steam engine example again. Chemical energy in coal.
Becomes heat energy and steam.
Becomes kinetic energy moving the engine. It's everywhere, this transformation.
It really is. And when you trace almost all of this energy back, where does it ultimately come from?
The sun?
Overwhelmingly, yes. Our star. It's the primary source for nearly everything on Earth.
We get direct heat and light, of course.
Yep.
But it goes way beyond that.
Oh, yeah. That solar energy drives photosynthesis in plants. They capture light and store it as chemical energy.
And that's the base of the food chain.
Pretty much. Animals eat plants, we eat plants or animals. We're tapping into stored solar energy.
And even fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas.
They're essentially concentrated ancient sunlight. Remains of plants and animals that lived millions of years ago, their energy originally came from the sun. The timescale is just immense.
Mind-boggling, really. And the sun drives the weather, too, right? The water cycle.
Absolutely. Sun's heat evaporates water, forms clouds, rain falls, fills rivers and dams.
Providing the potential energy for hydroelectric power, it's all connected back to the sun.
It's this vast, interconnected system.
So thinking about generating electricity, which relies on these transformations, what are the main ways we do it?
Well, the sources list the big ones. Burning fuels, coal, oil, gas, and thermal power stations is a major one.
Using the heat to make steam spin turbines?
Right. Then there's harnessing wind energy with wind farms.
Using the kinetic energy of the air.
Exactly. Nuclear energy, tapping into atomic fission and power plants, and hydro energy, using the energy of flowing water from dams.
In almost all cases, it seems like we're converting some other form of energy, often mechanical, into electrical energy.
That's the common thread in most large-scale generation, yes.
Now, these energy sources, they fall into two broad camps, don't they? Renewable and non-renewable.
Correct. Renewable sources are those that naturally replenish themselves on a human timescale.
Yeah.
We won't theoretically run out of them.
Like solar energy, obviously, wind.
Hydro, tidal power from the oceans, ocean thermal energy.
Bioenergy, like from plants or waste.
Geothermal, heat from the earth. And the source also lists nuclear here as non-conventional, which is an interesting categorization, but points to it not being a fossil fuel.
Okay. And the non-renewables.
Those are primarily the fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Coal, petroleum, natural gas, formed over millions of years.
And we're using them much, much faster than they form.
Which means they're finite. If we rely on them too heavily, we face potential depletion and energy crisis down the line.
Let's look closer at solar, the sun's energy. We use it directly for simple things.
Drying clothes, preserving food, getting salt from seawater.
Yeah, but also for more complex things. Generating electricity.
Right. Two main approaches for large-scale use.
Yeah.
Heating and direct electricity conversion.
For heating, the sources mention things like solar cookers and water heaters.
They usually use basic principles: an insulated box to keep heat in, a black surface to absorb sunlight efficiently, a glass cover to trap heat like a mini greenhouse effect.
And water heaters circulate water through pipes exposed to the sun.
Simple, effective for heating water using direct solar energy.
And converting sunlight to electricity. You mentioned solar cells before.
Yes. Photovoltaic cells, or PV cells, usually made of silicon or similar materials. They have this amazing property of converting light photons directly into electric current.
We see those panels everywhere now, on roofs, powering satellites, streetlights, water pumps.
They're becoming much more common. There's also another method: concentrated solar power.
Using mirrors.
Yeah, large arrays of mirrors focus sunlight onto a central point, get it really hot, use that heat to make steam, and then drive a turbine and generator like a conventional power plant. The source mentions a 50-kilowatt plant in Gurgaon, India, using this tech.
Interesting. Okay, what about other renewables? Wind energy.
We use the wind's kinetic energy. Traditionally, windmills pumped water or ground flour.
Now it's mostly for electricity with wind turbines.
Right, wind generators. Grouped together in wind farms, The source mentions a large one at Lamba in Gujarat.
Then hydroenergy water power.
Using dams to store water, creating potential energy, then letting it flow down through turbines connected to generators.
Hydroelectricity. The source lists some big dams in India, like Bakra, which also helps with irrigation.
Multi-purpose projects,
Yeah.
often. Then there's tidal energy.
Harnessing the ocean's tides.
Yeah, the regular rise and fall of sea levels, and also wave power. You can use dams or underwater turbines. The first wave power station was apparently in Scotland.
And ocean thermal. That sounds trickier.
It is. It tries to use the temperature difference between warm surface water and cold deep water to run a heat engine. Still quite developmental.
Okay. Bioenergy. From
Yeah.
organic stuff.
Right. Biomass, dead plants, animal waste. You can let it decompose without oxygen in a digester.
And it produces gas.
Biogas, mostly methane. You can burn it for fuel. The leftover sludge is good fertilizer too. The source shows a diagram of a biogas plant.
Useful cycle. Geothermal. Heat from the earth.
Exactly. From the Greek, geo for earth, therm for heat. In some places, underground heat is close to the surface.
Like hot springs.
Yeah, or you can drill down, use the heat to make steam, generate electricity.
And then nuclear energy, which the source put under non-conventional renewables.
All right, uses nuclear fission splitting heavy atoms like uranium-235. When a neutron hits the nucleus, it splits, releasing energy and more neutrons.
Which can split more atoms. A chain reaction.
Correct. In a reactor, this chain reaction is controlled. Moderators like graphite slow neutrons down. Control rods like cadmium absorb them to keep it stable.
And the heat generated makes steam for turbines.
Yes, like in the thermal power plant. But the heat source is nuclear fission. The source lists plants in India like Tarapur or Kalpakkam.
But also mentions the hazards.
Yes, dealing with radioactive materials requires very strict safety measures. It's a major consideration.
Okay, shifting to the non-renewables. Coal.
The hard black stuff, a fossil fuel, mostly carbon, comes in different types like anthracite, bituminous, lignite.
Used for heating, but mainly in thermal power plants.
Still a huge source of electricity worldwide. But burning it causes significant air pollution, smoke, other emissions. The source mentions mines in places like Bihar and West Bengal in India.
Then petroleum, crude oil.
Liquid fossil fuel. We drill for it, it needs refining fractional distillation.
To separate it into petrol, diesel, kerosene, fuel oil.
Lubricating oils, paraffin wax, asphalt for roads, LPG gas. A lot of products come from crude oil. Key drilling areas mentioned include Assam and Mumbai High.
And natural gas.
Mostly methane. Often found with oil or on its own. Used as fuel for heating, industry, and also in power plants.
The source highlights CNG, compressed natural gas.
As a cleaner alternative fuel, especially for vehicles. Found in places like Tripura, Rajasthan, offshore Mumbai.
So, given that these fossil fuels are finite and have pollution issues, using energy wisely seems critical.
Absolutely paramount. The sources stress this. Careful consumption is key.
And they list ways to do that. Simple things.
Like fixing leaks, oil, gas, petrol. Not wasting electricity lights off when you leave a room. Efficient appliances.
Keeping machines maintained, properly lubricated so they run efficiently.
Yeah. Trying to limit fossil fuel use when there are alternatives. Switching to renewables where possible.
Transportation choices, too.
Big one. Public transport, carpooling, cycling, walking, fuel-efficient vehicles, even sharing appliances or devices instead of everyone owning one.
And planting trees helps, too.
Trees absorb CO2, so yes, reforestation is part of the picture.
This links directly to pollution and climate change.
Undeniably. Burning fossil fuels releases pollutant smoke, sulfur dioxide, lead compounds from older fuels perhaps that cause air pollution.
Leading to health problems,
Right.
respiratory issues, asthma.
Major health impacts, yes. And then there's global warming.
The greenhouse effect. Gases trapping heat.
Exactly. Gases like carbon dioxide from burning fuels, methane from various sources including natural gas leaks in agriculture, CFCs, nitrous oxide, they trap heat in the atmosphere.
Causing the planet's average temperature to rise.
Which leads to melting glaciers, rising sea levels, changes in weather patterns, threats to ecosystems and biodiversity. It's a cascade of effects linked heavily to our energy use.
So, wrapping this up, we've covered a lot of ground. Energy is fundamental. It comes in many forms. It's always transforming.
And our primary source, for most of it, tracing it back, is the sun. We harness it directly or indirectly through food, fossil fuels, weather patterns.
We've looked at how we generate electricity, the difference between renewable sources like solar and wind, and finite non-renewable ones like coal and oil.
And crucially, how our choices about which sources we use and how much energy we consume have really significant consequences. for air quality, for the climate, for the future availability of resources.
It really brings us to a crucial point. This deep dive highlights the finite nature of some sources, the environmental impact of others.
Hmm.
So it leaves a question for you, the listener, to think about. What's our role, individually and together, in shaping a more sustainable energy future?
Yeah, what small changes in our daily lives could actually add up? How can we support the shift towards cleaner energy?
It's worth considering how we can all contribute, maybe by looking more into renewable options or just being more mindful of our own energy footprint day to day.
It's definitely food for thought.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of energy.